You know that feeling when something itches in your brain? Not literally. I mean that obsessive thought that starts as a mild irritation, and then it grows and grows until it starts eating you from the inside. For me, it began with simple curiosity. I've lived in this neighborhood for 5 years, quiet, sleepy Ohio suburb, where the loudest event of the year is someone's birthday party with a bad DJ. And exactly 1 year ago, they moved in across the street. The mailbox read, Simmons. The perfect couple straight out of an insurance commercial. Him, tall, polo shirts, a jawline you could crack nuts with. Her, a slender blonde who was always smiling while walking their golden retriever named Baxter. They were perfect. Too perfect. You know that feeling when you look at a Hollywood facade in Disneyland and realize it's just drywall? That's the feeling I had from day one. But I'll admit, at first, I was just jealous. My life is remote IT support work and dinners alone. Their life is weekend barbecues and laughter drifting through open windows. The first red flags were small, easy to dismiss. Take Baxter, for instance. Magnificent dog. One morning, about a month after they moved in, I was having coffee on my porch. The Simmons walked out, got into their shiny Escalade, and drove off. And Baxter sat at the window and whined. Not just whining, howling like a wounded animal. But the strange thing? He wasn't looking at the street, wasn't waiting for his owners. He was staring deep into the house, down the hallway leading to the kitchen, growling into the darkness of his own empty home. I thought to myself, probably just separation anxiety. Idiot. A complete idiot. A couple of weeks later, the night deliveries started. I have insomnia. That's important for context. I often sit on my couch at 3 a.m, staring at the ceiling, and I began to notice that every Wednesday at exactly 3:15 a.m., the same unmarked van pulled up to the Simmons house. They weren't unloading Amazon boxes. They were unloading something heavy. Black plastic containers, industrial grade, like the kind used to transport lab equipment. And they weren't taking them through the front door. They took them through the garage. A home gym. At 3 a.m, every Wednesday, that's when curiosity turned into an itch. I bought a small surveillance camera. You know the type, with night vision and motion detection that people mount on their doors. But I didn't mount it on my door. I attached it to my mailbox, disguised as a light sensor, angled directly at their driveway. The first 3 weeks, nothing. Just footage of Mr. Simmons washing his car and Mrs. Simmons watering her impeccable roses. But then Wednesday came. The first Wednesday, I caught it on tape. At 3:15 a.m., the van arrived. But this time, they were carrying containers out of the garage, and I could see them clearly in the infrared glow, thanks to the camera. Mr. Simmons and the van driver were hauling a long, meter-long container. It was heavy. You could tell by the strain in their backs. And at one point, the container wobbled. The lid, held by 2 clamps, slid slightly to the side. Through the gap, this thing appeared. I don't know how to describe it without sounding like a madman. A hand, but pale, almost bluish, with long, very elegant fingers, and on the middle finger was a ring, a heavy signet ring with a black stone, like a family crest. Mr. Simmons was on it in a split second. He literally shoved that hand back into the container with his palm and snapped the clamp shut so hard that a metallic clang echoed. I must have watched that recording 500 times. I zoomed in on the freeze frame. That was no plastic prop, the fingernails on that hand. There was dried blood caked under them. Real, actual blood. From that moment on, I stopped being just a curious neighbor. I became obsessed. I couldn't just watch the front of their house anymore. I needed to know what was in the basement. But you can't just walk up to the door and say, "Hey, mind showing me your basement? I have a feeling you're storing corpses with family jewelry down there." I needed an excuse. And the excuse presented itself. Last Friday, they were hosting a charity party in their garden. A moonlight soiree, they called it. The whole neighborhood was invited. White tents, champagne, live music. The perfect cover. I put on my best blazer, combed my hair, and at exactly 8:15 p.m. I rang their doorbell. The main event was in the backyard, but I entered through the front door, pretending I had gotten a little lost. Inside, the house smelled like a home, lemon polish and vanilla, the perfect picture. I moved down the hallway I had only ever seen through windows. My target was the door that, by my calculations, led to the basement stairs, right under the kitchen. The door was open, just a crack, as if they were expecting me. I slipped inside. Darkness. Stairs leading down, ordinary wooden steps, creaky. I didn't turn on my phone's flashlight so I wouldn't be spotted. I descended by touch, running my hand along the cold concrete wall. The lower I went, the colder the air became, and the smell changed. The vanilla disappeared. It was replaced by the scent of earth, dampness, and something else. Chemical, like formaldehyde mixed with bleach. Finally, the steps ended. I was standing on a concrete floor. The basement was dark except for a single dim yellow bulb burning in the far corner. Beneath it stood a chair, worn out, wooden, like from an old dining set. Straps on the armrests and on the legs, and dark brown stains on the bare wooden floor. My heart was hammering somewhere in my throat, but I took another step, and that's when I saw them. Along the wall, in a row, stood those same black plastic containers. About 6 of them. Each had a sticker with a white label. I approached the nearest one. On the label, in neat, almost calligraphic handwriting, was a single word. The adulterer. The next container, the liar. The third, the proud. Further down, the envious, the glutton. The last container stood slightly apart. It was empty, its lid thrown open. On it was a label that read, "The sloth in preparation." And that's when I heard footsteps above me. Slow, calm footsteps descending the stairs. I wanted to run, but there was nowhere to go. Only one exit, right up the stairs. The beam of a flashlight began to sweep, illuminating more and more of the basement. I instinctively backed into the only dark spot, a nook behind a shelf filled with jars of canned peaches. It was Mrs. Simmons, but this was not the woman who had offered me lemonade. She was wearing a surgical apron, and her perfectly styled hair was tucked under a surgical cap. She walked up to the container labeled "The Adulterer" and opened it. I expected the stench of rot, but only cold and formaldehyde wafted out. She pulled out a hand, the very hand I had seen on the recording. She was talking to it, stroking that dead, pale hand and humming a lullaby. And then she spoke, in a voice that froze the blood in my veins. Words I will never forget. "Soon, my love. We've almost collected them all. One more sin and you will be whole again. We just need to find the most terrible one. The witness, the one who watches and does not intervene, the voyeur, and then you will wake up." She kissed the ring on the dead finger. The light glinted off the black stone, and in that moment I saw the engraving on it. It wasn't a family crest. It was a human eye, a wide-open eye. I don't remember how I got out. I think I waited until she went into an adjoining room with refrigeration units. I flew up the stairs, tore through the garden, crashing into one of the waiters, and here I am, home, curtains drawn, door locked with every deadbolt I have. I would never have recorded this. I would have just called the police. But you don't understand. The police were there. Sheriff Marks and his wife were at that party. They were laughing and drinking champagne with the Simmons. I don't know which one of them is the glutton and which is the envious. I don't know which of my neighbors are already part of this collection of sinners, as they call it. But the worst part is this. When I was running out of their house, Mrs. Simmons was standing on the back porch. Our eyes met, and she didn't look angry or scared. She smiled at me, her usual warm Hollywood smile, and then she winked, because she knows. I am the voyeur now. Do you hear that? Silence. It's too quiet. My neighbor's dog across the street. He's not barking anymore. I've uploaded this video as a scheduled post. If you're watching this now, it means I didn't make it out. Or worse, they got to me first. And if you live in a quiet suburb and your life is boring and your neighbors are perfect, God, I beg you, don't start watching them. especially if they have a basement.